Okay, so we're continuing on with systems. Before we get into talking about systems of inequalities, we first need to learn how to graph inequalities. All right. So if we have a linear inequality, we want to know how to graph it. And basically, the rules are you graph it in the exact same way that you graph a linear equation, except for these two little rules here. All right. And the rules basically are when you have a greater than or less than, that is something without an equal sign underneath of it, instead of when we make our line, remember these are going to create lines. When we make our line, instead of it being a solid line, we're going to make a dashed line or a dotted line. If it has the equal sign underneath of it, and it can, that means that that line can be included in the solution. So we're going to make a solid line. All right. With inequalities, though, remember there's going to be a bunch of solutions for these. There's no one right answer to inequalities. There's only a range of right answers. So in part two, basically we figure out a way to show that on a graph. So if it's greater than or equal to, basically anything that's greater than will shade above our line, and that will represent the solutions to our linear inequality. Or if it's less than or equal to, we're going to shade below the line. All right. And I think the best way to do this is to go ahead and just jump into an example so that you can see how this is going to work. All right. So in our first example, we've got y is less than 2x plus 3. We want to graph that. So let me go ahead and set up sort of some coordinates here, a little coordinate grid. All right. Now remember when we were talking about graphing linear equations, we said that as long as it's in that y is equal to mx plus b form, which this is, y something times x plus b, the thing on the end, the number on the end, tells us where it crosses the y-axis. So this is going to cross at 3. So we'll come up here at 3 and we'll put a dot. So we go up 1, 2, 3, and here's where it's crossing the y-axis. All right. And then we said if it's in that form, the number with the x tells us the slope and how to find other points. So this is the slope is 2. So that's the same as 2 over 1. That means we're going to rise 2 and go right 1. So to get another point on this line, we'd rise 2 and go right 1. Remembering, if we wanted to go to the left, we just do the opposite, which means go down 2 and left 1. And in this case, we don't need that many points. We're just graphing a sketch of the line. So now what we need to do is look at our rules for graphing these. So this is a less than, and up here it says less than means we're going to have a dotted line. So in this case, we're going to have a dashed line through these points. And what that means is that anything on that line is not really considered part of the solution. So there's the first part. We make a dashed line or a solid line based on our linear inequality. And then we look at part 2 and we say, well, where are we going to shade this? Well, this is less than, and less than says to shade below the line. So our shading for this is like that. And basically what this says, anything in the shaded region, we can plug into this inequality and it will make it true. All right. But anything on the line itself is not part of the solution and will not make it true. And anything above will not make that inequality true. All right. So there's how you shade. Look at example 2. Remember, in order to graph like that, we have to have it in y is equal to mx plus b form. So notice that 3x plus 2y or 5y less than or equal to 10 is not in that linear form. So let's flip this over and solve for that. It's 3x plus 5y, and that is less than or equal to 10. So in order to make this work, we have to get it in that y equals mx plus b form, which means we have to solve for y. So if we're solving for y, I have to subtract 3x from both sides, and I'm left with 5y less than or equal to negative 3x plus 10. Remember, you cannot combine these because these are not like terms. And then to get y by itself, we go through and divide every term by 5. So what we're left with is y is less than or equal to negative 3/5 x, and then plus 10 divided by 5 is 2. So here is the line we're actually going to be graphing. So it's going to be y less than or equal to, and then it's negative 3/5 x, negative 3/5 x plus 2. That's the line we're going to be graphing now. So here's my little coordinate thing. All right. So with this linear inequality, it's going to cross at positive 2. So we come up here at positive 2 and put a dot. And then we'll use the slope to find other points. Remember, the negative only goes with one of these numbers in the fraction. So what that means is you can either have a negative 3 over a positive 5, or you can have a positive 3 over a negative 5. So this says go down 3 and right 5, or up 3 and left 5. So if we go down 3 and then right 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a point on our line. Or we can go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and left 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's points on our line. Now we have to decide, is it solid or dotted? So it has the equal sign, so it's going to be a solid line through those points. So here is our line. All right. And we have to decide, do we shade above or below? It's a less than or equal to, so again, we're going to be shading below the line. So our solution here is going to be everything below that line and including that line. All right, the difference between this one and that one is that on this one, the solutions are not, the solutions on the line are not part of the solution. In this case, you can have points on the line and plug them in. It will make that inequality true. So what I want you to do is to go ahead and pause the video right now and try to graph the third one on your own. See what you come up with, and then come back and I'll go over it with you. All right, so here we are. We've got it in that y equals mx plus b form, so we can go straight to graphing it. And in this case, what it's saying is it's going to cross at -1. So if we come down here to -1, there's our first point. We've got a slope of 3, so that's rise 3 and go right 1. You can get a point. Or you can go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and left 1 and get a point there. Now you have to decide, is it solid or dotted? Well, it's greater than, so greater than, or it's greater than or equal to, it has the equal sign, so it's going to be a solid line. So we'll draw our solid line through those points. All right, and then you have to decide, do we shade above or below? In this case, it's greater than, so we shade above the line. So our solutions here is going to be everything above this line and including the line. All right, so there's just a quick view on how to graph linear inequalities. If you have any questions, please bring them to class.